Good morning, starshine.
Welcome to the real world. Whoa! Mortgage your house and buy Bitcoin with free air. There's no second best, okay?
GM. All right, so trade of the day. Let's look at the market. Where are we? Coinalyze, BTC and altcoins. So everything had a flush yesterday. BTC open interest is already approaching back to new highs here. Little spike on the breakout that then got flushed. By the time this gets above here, I would imagine that open interest will be probably higher, but altcoins open interest down. So a bit of a divergence there between them. Again, divergences go both ways, and it depends on market structure following that. So if price goes higher and open interest does not make new highs, it shows a lack of participation. However, if price makes a lower high and open interest makes a higher high, that's also a divergence. So it goes in two ways. You can have too much participation where price is not agreeing, and you can have price agreeing, so price going higher, but participation lower. And both of which can be a negative divergence, only if structures break. So right now, BTC structure is fine. It's moving up, and I mean, until at least this level breaks, there's nothing to be concerned about to the downside. Would I get long here? No. There'll be some kind of pullback at some point. And here's the two paths. So it's the path I mentioned yesterday. Said that yesterday that we would probably go take the highs, and then potentially if it's going to fall back, I would say 68 was around that area. And so if 68 is going to provide that sort of short-term resistance, you'll see it drop back from here. But until it loses the previous highs of that kind of 66 level, there's nothing, don't expect that this path is going to happen. This is just one of the potential paths if price rejects and comes back down. If not, what you're probably going to see is BTC has started a new 4-hour trend. So the 4-hour trend went positive, we dropped back, it started to cross, it has flipped again, and we haven't had a retest since then. So 4-hour trend back in formation, back in movement. And if we're going to go higher, then I think the BTC goes higher and probably has a pullback into the 4-hour trend, which then holds, and that brings us towards the all-time high. So you'd see that as the 4-hour trend catching up, BTC falling back and getting bought up on it. And I think that if it's going towards 70, it's going to do it like this. It'll push, it'll flush back, it'll push up, it'll flush back, it'll grind up towards that level. And so that's the continuation path that I would see. I don't think that it's going to be, especially if it happens on this push, right, all the way from the 10th, all the way up. I don't think that push is going to be an all-time high breakout. That sets up more for a failed break because it's already moving up with lots of inefficiency, plenty of gaps below, and a lot of chasing will happen towards that level, which leads it towards a potential pullback and some more consolidation. I think that breaking below the highs from here, that's the level to watch for a proper false breakout. And at the same time, it doesn't mean that it can't go below here and still go higher. It absolutely can. You want to see structure actually breaking and showing multiple signs of distribution. So the first would be this 65 to 68 area. So if I take this over to the side, this range that is marked by yesterday's candle, the big volatile wick in both directions. So this is Tuesday's range from the low of Tuesday to the high of Tuesday, right? That area, whichever way that breaks, will determine whether Bitcoin pushes towards all-time highs or back towards these lows. So everything in between can be noisy and messy and choppy. It's when it has a break below that you see the unwind, and it's when it has a flip above that you'll see a move higher. So I would expect that as the market rises again here into this high, that it is probably going to be a range high and is probably going to see a breakout attempt that if it falls back inside, then leads you towards the other side of the range, especially if that breakout attempt fails. and is certainly if it's not able to hold the 50 EMA or any of these EMAs on the 4 hour on the way back down, or the 1 hour there, but the 4 hour as well. So yeah, I think it's a roller coaster of emotions, right? Market rallied up into the highs yesterday, pulled back just before it, blasted through at the New York Open, lots of hype and 68k, holy shit, this is it. Flushes back to 65, oh my god, it's over. Now we're going back up and it's doing this grind high, and I was like, oh shit. You know, you get that feeling of, am I not long enough? Do I need more? Do I have to get in? And it does this sort of grinding high where it looks like it's never going to pull back. If it's the proper breakout, then it's going to actually go. I think it's not just yet, but it very well could be. In either case, there's going to be some kind of pullback or consolidation, and it's best to be patient. If you're looking for something like a swing trade entry, this would not be the ideal place for it. For a position trade, it's probably not, it's not a terrible place if you get further confirmation. I would say you have to see a weekly close above 70. If you do see a weekly close above 70, that's when it changes for me. Because with a weekly close above 70, which is around these highs here, if you see a weekly close above that level, maybe I should go to a different chart. And you've obviously got the value area, number one. So let's go here. What are we looking at? Here we go. From top to bottom, that value area is around the 70k mark, right? So you have this level. It was actually slightly higher on that one, but it all centers around this area. And if you see a weekly close above that level, that would be a sign to me that BTC is unlikely to go back much deeper than about 64, 65, and then continue on from there. So if you see that, be mindful that people will FOMO into that move or into the breakout, and it will probably have some kind of flush back, but it won't go 59, it won't go 58, it won't go 60, it probably won't go to any of those, and you'll see a higher low forming at the high end of the range. That is something like in Blue Belt Swing Trading Masterclass I talk about as the false breakout. That would be if Bitcoin tries to break all-time high, comes back below. So if it tries to break all-time high, has some positive weekly closes, comes back below as it just flushes out the breakout chasers, you then look at something like the 50 EMA as being the first area. A good false breakout will do that. It will take the highs, it will come back, it will not fall back further, it will form a higher low, and it will typically form it around the 50 EMA and then continue from there. You see this on all time frames over and over if you're looking at legitimate breakouts that come at key levels. I don't know if we can find one here, but prior to a false breakout, or sorry, after a false breakout that leads to continuation. Let's see, can we find one? Where would we be looking at here? False breakouts. Looking on the daily. It's like that first all-time high break we had. Yeah, something similar to this. This one front ran it. But we had a first touch of all-time high here in 2020. We actually just touched it off there in December. Price dropped back, and it dropped back. So the breakout was there, the false breakout, if you go all the way back to the old all-time high. Price dropped back, it chopped around, and it held. It didn't even get to the 50 at that time. So obviously anything at the 50 or above it, and then continuation from there, and you get positive breaks of structure in the opposite direction, is when the breakout proper will begin. And so that's what I'm looking at. As for the lower time frame, I'm still of the opinion that the first path is the most likely path, which is this area remains to forming some kind of a local high and we drop back. But if it continues, then we know the target 70, and if it gets beyond 70, you probably see a move towards all-time high and then that proper false breakout into a last retest. If it's just going to continue with no pullbacks, then you have to wait for something like a weekly or a monthly close that really confirms it. Said at the start of the month, October, expectation for October was that we would have a green month, but it wouldn't start green. So we got that, started red, it's now green. I also said that I didn't think it would be a massive breakout candle. and that it would probably finish with an upper wick and a lower wick. So we're now, what, 16th of October, at halfway, just over halfway through. Moving pretty well like that so far. I'm not of the opinion that this is going to close above all-time high, but it could. We'll see how that goes. If you get a very strong October close, you'll probably see nothing but a shallow pullback in November. If you see October's candle not closing at here or above, it closes anywhere around here or lower, you'll see more chop throughout November and then a bigger move December. That's my view. So 65 to 68 is the range to trade within. I have to be super clear, like, do not short this. Right? This is all a high time frame bullish view. My only view on it is that I think that positioning and sentiment, etc., 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 is going to lead this to having a bit more chop before it eventually goes. Do not short this kind of stuff, because you're just shorting against the trend, which makes no sense. And even if it was going to go all the way down to 60, doesn't mean that there's any great short entries until you have some kind of real weakness, some actual confirmation of breaks, which to me would be like around here. And if it starts to drop back and people are aggressively buying dips and the dips keep dipping, that's when you're probably going to see it unwind, because it's either a trend or it's a mean reversion. Currently, this is an early stage trend. If it reverses that and you see structures breaking and it's no longer a trend, that's when it's likely to not get that dip bought. It's actually likely to go back to where it started from. And then you reform the bottom and you go from there. So that's what I'm looking at today. Not sure if there'll be any trades to take. Obviously, the level to watch is this. Be mindful. It's just like shorting here was not a good idea after that pump. Shorting here is not a good idea after that flush. Because how markets move on the way up is they breakout, fail breakout, breakout, fail breakout, breakout, fail breakout. And if you find yourself shorting something over and over again that keeps losing, after about 2 attempts at that, you should realize this is probably not doing the thing I'm expecting it to do, i.e. mean reversion, because false breakouts are also just a part of a market going up. When you see the market go down, what does it do? It goes down. Shallow bounce, it goes down. Shallow bounce, it goes down. And it keeps making these lows until it eventually bottoms. The exact same thing happens on the way up. Goes up, tries to pull back. Goes up, tries to pull back. Goes up, tries to pull back. That's just an uptrend, right? Even though these are false breakouts because they come back inside, it's still just an uptrend. That's how they move. So you wait until there is some kind of clear consolidation, some trigger for your trade entries. I think that short-term trades, like day trade scalps, probably will be optimal here in terms of if we push above the highs, people will probably get too aggressive and too long, and there might be some kind of flush going towards New York Open. But that doesn't have to be a big thing. That could just be up here and down to there. Right? It's not like it's going to go straight to 64 or 61 or 60. All of that can wait. We have been through a lengthy phase of shit. It certainly could easily be time to just run. No reason why I couldn't. 7 or 8 months is enough. I tend to think Bitcoin will take a little longer, but that's just my current thought. So, GM. 2 streams today. We have Ask Michael at 4 p.m. and right after it, Wipeout Wednesday at 5 p.m. UTC, of course. See you then.